With the release of Furiosa quickly approaching, I just recently got my invite to the Brisbane premiere, which I'm so excited for. I wanted to cover the previous Mad Max film, a film that got widespread acclaim, did amazing at the Academy Awards, and is still a benchmark for the action genre, and that is Mad Max Fury Road. I also have a very special announcement at the end of this video, so make sure to stay tuned then, and let's get into it. So Mad Max Fury Road is almost a reboot of the original Mad Max trilogy. George Miller's going in a pretty different direction with a new Max played by Tom Hardy and all these new characters, and it was a very difficult production. This movie took 15 years to make, and in the process, George Miller had a million other ideas on where to take this universe while making this film. And that's why we now have Furiosa on the horizon, as well as another Mad Max movie that's rumored to be coming out in the near future. This movie not only was a risk that paid off, it was just wildly successful the whole way around. I would say it might be George Miller's best movie. It is definitely his biggest accomplishment to date, and it absolutely deserved a lot of the praise it got when it released. I mean, one of the very first Oscars that I kind of watched, even though I wasn't big into movies at the time, was the one where Mad Max was nominated for a bunch and was sweeping all the tech categories. It was just crazy to see this movie win so many Oscars, and it's what initially drew my eyes to this movie. I eventually watched it, and I wasn't really expecting much. That was my very first introduction to this universe. I wasn't expecting to like it all that much. However, it just completely flipped the script. The film is so full of quality. It knows exactly what it is, and it doubles down and commits to everything. George Miller is unquestionably just throwing everything at the wall here, and it works a lot of the time. I think Miller knows that dialogue and writing isn't in his strong suit. It's not something that he excels at. Sometimes he can pull it off, but usually when his films go down that route, they become weak and the pacing is all off. Mad Max Fury Road almost takes that away almost completely and just focuses on the action and that exciting, adrenaline-filled style of filmmaking that George Miller likes to employ. And he just goes for it here with brilliant action set piece after brilliant action set piece. This is a benchmark for stunt work and practical filmmaking. So many brilliant sequences within this film. And while doing that, it tells you so much about these characters. I mean, the narrative is pretty simple in its essence. It's basically a road trip movie. They're just going from one place to another and crazy shit happens in between. And they almost do a full loop from where they began. And it's just very interesting that that's all it is, but it manages to be so compelling. All of the new characters are absolutely excellent too and fit into the world so beautifully. I mean, Tom Hardy as the new Max is perfect in this role. He's great at embodying a character that doesn't really need to say too much. He can work with that if he needs to, but I often think that his strength as an actor relies on the physicality of his performance, as well as just how he can portray so much through just that physicality once again. And I think he kills that here. This character goes through a lot of pain and torment, and he sells it so well in this movie and feels like such an integral part to this world. I really like the character. He has enough depth that fits within this action movie, but it's nothing too serious, and I really like that approach here. He's just a very flawed human being, and that's kind of all we need to know. A lot of the character depth comes with Furiosa, played by Charlize Theron, and I think that she is a badass addition to this world, and I think is so worthy of having this spin-off made about her because the character is fascinating. Charlize Theron plays her so well, and her commitment to this role is outstanding. I mean, she actually shaved her head for this role. She really committed to it. And I got to appreciate that. She also sells this role with her physicality. There's so many brutal action sequences with her, as well as Tom Hardy's Max that are just so well shot and well choreographed. It's just brutal and visceral, but it's also this massive grand spectacle and so ambitious. Then we have some of our antagonists like Immortan Joe, who is this character that is revered by all his henchmen. I mean, he glances at Nicholas Holt's direction and he just thinks that he's going straight to heaven and fully commits. These people are willing to die for this man, and any acknowledgement from this guy that they consider to be a god is this massive blessing. And I really like that little touch that George Miller employed in the beginning of this film. I like the way that he interacts with his people and holds so much away from them. And the way that this kind of changes over the course of the film is interesting and adds another layer to this movie and more depth to this world that you just want to explore more of, because it's just so rich thematically and narratively speaking. So much lore that you can see in this world. I just am astounded by how well he manages to communicate all this within a couple of frames. It's so efficient. Also, alongside its incredible production value, interesting characters and world building, it's very well shot. I mean, it does have that frantic editing that you expect from a George Miller movie. It's very ADHD-esque. It feels like a alternative version to what Baz Luhrmann does, where it's very in your face. But I think it works in this kind of format to almost perfection. Like, this is a film that's tailored to his style. So I really appreciate the editing in this, even though it can be very full on. It may give you a headache because it's so loud, so bombastic, so many things happening at once. But it just fits in this movie. It's made to be a big, loud spectacle, and it achieves that. I think also, as I said, that cinematography is beautiful. It has a well-intentioned color palette. There is a great contrast with the blue of the sky to the desert. That orange color palette that fills this world is brilliant and showcases the harshness and the heat in this wasteland. And then also when we get into more cooler areas where it's just clouded in blue, just really great choices with the color palette that just entirely work. I also have to add as well, I've seen this movie twice. The guitar guy, he is the MVP. I mean, what a badass decision to just have a guy on a truck playing this electric guitar with flames coming out of the end of it. I mean, what a cool ass choice. That is just there to be exactly that, a spectacle and exciting and fun, and I love that. And now I have pretty much raved about this movie. I do think it's really, really great, but I do have a lot of flaws with some things that happen in the second half of the movie. And it makes me somewhat skeptical for Furiosa. Not entirely, I am really excited for that movie, but there is a little bit of skepticism there just due to the fact that when the film actually slows down and focuses more on George Miller's screenplay, and we see a little bit of the backstory of Furiosa and what happened to her people, I have found that moment to be not as engaging as the rest of the movie. I think because it throws so much at you in the first half and then just grinds to a really slow point, it feels very jarring. And both times I've watched it, I just kind of start to lose interest around those moments. It does pick itself back up again with some very balls to the wall scenes near the end of the movie that really ramp up the pace again and give some more character motivations to Furiosa. So I do appreciate it for what it's trying to do, but I do think that the heavy contrast between these moments does make it jarring, and I have just always found it to be just far too slow in those moments for this movie. I don't think the Furiosa movie is going to have a problem with that, but it is just something I've noticed in both of these watches. I thought it might be a little bit better on the second watch now that I have full context for everything, but no, it still didn't quite work for me, even though there are some amazing shots in these scenes, like the one of Furiosa going onto her knees and screaming in the desert. That shot is amazing, and the context for that is very necessary and is probably, in terms of just being a thespian actor, that was probably the best moment in the movie. But it's still just, yeah, it just hurts the pacing a little bit, I've found. I also do think it has a slightly bloated runtime. It does run a little bit too long because, once again, it's so bombastic and you're in your face all the time. You do get a little bit exhausted by the end of it just because you've gone through so much just craziness that you're just kind of done by the time you get to the end of the movie because you just need a rest. It's just so full on. And for a lot of people, that is amazing. And I do think it is amazing for a lot of its runtime. It's just, I do notice that when we start getting into that tail end, I'm like, whew, I'm done. I've got a headache and I need to just chill out because Jesus Christ, George Miller's just not stopping. He's just going ham the whole way. It's as if he's never going to make another movie again. He's like, I need to make my magnum opus before I retire. And this is kind of what he's doing. So hats off to him. But yeah, it is a lot. Overall, I think Mad Max Fury Road is well worth your time if you haven't seen it yet. It is just such a massive staple in the action genre. It's exciting, it has fun lore, it's well shot, it knows exactly what it is and doubles down. And you just have to appreciate that. The unquestionable, unwavering nature in George Miller's direction and the complete faith that our performers have. Tom Hardy, Charlize Theron, all of these supporting characters like Zoe Kravitz and Nicholas Hoult are just amazing in this movie and just completely understand what Miller's going for and execute. As a score, I'm going to give Mad Max Fury Road a very strong 4 out of 5, and by God, I am so excited for Furiosa. I can't wait to see what George Miller's going to do next. Cannot wait for that screening. And yeah, please see this movie before you see Furiosa. I think it's going to give you a lot of what you're going to expect in that movie by seeing this and getting an understanding of what George Miller does in his action movies. Okay, time for the announcement. I did already announce this in a post, but I just wanted to do it in video format too. Big update on the channel. So basically, I have just reached a status where I can now have memberships, which is so exciting, and I have no one to thank except for you guys for putting me in a position where I can actually do that now. That is really exciting, and I have a couple of interesting ideas with these tiers that I really hope you guys enjoy. So the first tier is called Crew Member for $2.99 Australian dollars per month, and that gets you access to a members only badge that you can display in all of the comments in my videos. You'll get priority response in all comments of my videos, as well as your name credited at the end of all of my videos. The next one is called Kane Eddie Plus, which is $5.99 Australian dollars per month. You get all of the previous perks that I just mentioned. You also get bonus videos and reviews for members on this tier, as well as a follow back on Twitter and Letterboxd. While I am doing bonus reviews for this tier, all my normal content will stay the same. My schedule will not change one iota. So if you don't want to grab a membership, it's completely fine. Nothing will change on this channel. You will not miss out on anything. But if you just want some extra content, some extra reviews from me, please consider that tier. I think it'll be a lot of fun there. To sign up for these tiers, you can head to the join button down below. If you're on an iPhone, I have noticed that it doesn't pop up. So you do need to go to the desktop version of YouTube to access it if you're having trouble there. Also, I haven't officially got any designs made yet, but I am planning on having some merch made in the future. So do look forward to that announcement, as well as the designs for the new line that I am currently working on right now. So keep your eyes peeled for that. I really hope you enjoy the membership tiers as well as some of these new things that I've got cooking. It has been incredibly exciting. And anyway, those are my thoughts towards Mad Max Fury Road as well as that announcement. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you think about Mad Max Fury Road in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And let me know how keen you are for Furiosa. It is probably one of my most anticipated movies for the rest of the year. I think it's going to be a blast, and I cannot wait for that screening and to give you guys a review for that as soon as possible. With that said, remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.